So I've been in music my whole life now. At this age, you look back and it's 95% of my life that I've been in music. But I do remember a questionnaire when I was at school and I was 14. And the question was, what do you want to do when you grow up or leave school or something like that? And I remember my answer quite clearly. I wrote, to be the best guitar player in the best band in the country. So I don't remember the moment that I had an epiphany that I should be a guitar player in a band, but I remember the time period where it seemed quite obvious that this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I still completed my schooling, but I knew, I felt that my path was to be one of a musician from around that time, 14, and I'd never entertained doing anything else from that time on. As to why I do it, I think my thoughts about that have changed over the years. I used to love doing it because it was enjoyable, and it still is for me. It's still extremely enjoyable. This is my escape, and what I think I've learned is that music for me, my entry into music probably was an escape from my childhood. So music for me is really safe. It's I need to temper that with, I like to take chances when I play. But the environment, the musical environment for me is one of safety. And this didn't really hit me until a couple of years ago when I realised, oh my God, this is why I like being on stage. It's the safest place in the world for me. I feel extremely comfortable. I don't get nervous. I feel extremely comfortable. I feel at home when I'm playing music. So that's why currently, this is why I think that I've spent my life in music. It's provided me with safety. The first guitar I played was owned by my uncle, and he had it at his place. He lived with my grandmother. And that was literally the first guitar I ever put my hands on, felt. And I happen to have it at home. It lives in my lounge room. It's an old guitar made in Melbourne by a company called Pacific, probably the late 40s. It's not a good guitar, but it has a certain romantic attraction. So that was the first guitar I put my hands on. Then when it became apparent that I was going to play guitar, my father, being a typical wog, he went out to an auction or something and bought me the cheapest acoustic guitar he could find. And it was a horrid instrument, but I didn't know it was a horrid instrument, but looking back I realised it was terrible. I wanted to play electric guitar, so he went back to another auction place in Sydney and bought me an electric guitar, which was also terrible. By then I'd kind of realised that, there's this thing called action where the strings shouldn't be half a mile from the fretboard and all that. So the next guitar we bought was a 50s Telecaster, which we bought with an amplifier for $35, which I no longer have. And that was the guitar that I used in my first couple of years with that band Finch. It was a great guitar. I should never have sold it, of course. You hear this story all the time. It really was a good Telecaster. From there, I gravitated to Les Pauls because that's what Paul Kossoff played, and I was obsessed with trying to sound like Paul Kossoff. I knew nothing about Les Pauls, so the first Les Paul I bought was a brand new 1972 custom, Gibson's worst period, 3-piece neck, 47-piece body, green wood, the neck warped within a week of having it. It was a tragic guitar, but I didn't know. In those days, we didn't have access to the sort of information that we have now. So I bought brand new Les Paul for $450, which was a lot of money in 1972, and I saved that from my gigs. I realised that that Les Paul custom was a terrible guitar, and the next guitar I bought was a 68 Gold Top with P90s, which was a deliciously good guitar. And I used that for my last couple of years with Finch and for my time in Skyhooks. That was a great guitar. Unfortunately, there are terrible things that happen around it. The neck broke a few times. I had the neck replaced. It wasn't the same. It wasn't as good. The guitar was stolen. It came back a different colour, blah, 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 blah. And in those days, it was pretty easy to pick up an old guitar for not much money. They just didn't have much value. Back in those days, if you had a choice between a new Gretsch and a 59 Les Paul, you would have bought the new Gretsch, even though it cost 3 times as much money. That's just how it was back then. And we've all got, I know us old blokes, we've all got those stories to tell. Lately I've been playing a really lovely Tokai SG. I like Tokai guitars very much. I have a Tokai SG, which is new, 6 years old. It's very comfortable for me. It sits well. You know how some guitars sit better than others? I found that an SG sits perfectly. The really important thing for guitar players is to find guitars that they can have fun playing and that suit them, rather than trying to get themselves to suit somebody else's guitar, which is how I spent the first half of my musical life. There's Paul Kossoff or Dwayne Allman or Dickie Betts or Doug, really importantly, Doug Ford played a Black Les Paul custom. Doug Ford from the Masters Apprentices, who was a hero to me. So Doug Ford played a Les Paul. I need to play a Les Paul. So I think it's a bit of waste of time. And a guitar player, any musician, needs to find the tool that helps them carry their voice rather than somebody else's tool. Try everything, try everything. Just try everything, and you don't have to make decisions for the rest of your life. So you might try a 335 one day and not like it, and then 2 years later you try it again and realise this is a really great guitar. Just try everything you can. Try to find your own sound. Now your own sound, what I mean by that is not only your own tone, but your own touch, how you play, how you phrase, how you pitch, timing, how where you put things in the bar, or how you might voice a lick. That's what I mean by tone. I don't mean where the bass is on your amplifier. That's not tone. That's something else. So that's what I mean by tone. Find your own tone. What's your path? Not everybody wants to find a path. Okay, that's their choice. But I think that's where the real fun is. What's my voice? What am I going to do with it?